Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, Andrew Bartolotta.
Welcome back to the cityCURRENT Show, where we bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making an impact, empowering the good in our community and around the globe. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, and today we are honored to have Leonard and Paula Cochran from Leah's House, a restoration home for adult women dealing with various challenges in their lives. So let's dive into their mission, vision, and the transformative work that they are doing. Paula, Leonard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us, Andrew.
First, let's kick it off with telling us more about the founding of Leah's House and what inspired its creation.
Leah's House has actually been around for about 10 years now. In fact, this is our 10th anniversary, moving to our 11th right now. And it was actually started by someone else. And Paula and I joined the board of Leah's House about 4 years ago. And the founder, Michelle Moyes, was wanting to move on to prison ministry. And so she stepped down and turned it over to us.
And I had volunteered at different women's homes or recovery homes. And I had thought about opening my own recovery home at one point in time. And when this opportunity come up, it was like, yeah, this is something that I was kind of wanting to do. And it was like, how do you do it? How do you start something like that? And it's kind of like it just kind of fell in her lap. And she said, well, she was finished with doing it, and did we want to take it? And it was like, yeah, we'll take it. So it's been about probably 2.5 years, going on 3, and so it's been just getting things together and doing it the way that we thought would kind of help each area of a woman's life. Not only just it's a faith-based program, not just with their faith and growing in their faith, but also where they could be taught things or have the tools to do things they've never done before.
And I've had the fortunate opportunity to meet many of these women, and they are incredible. What are some of the main challenges that the women at Leah's House face when they first arrive?
Probably the biggest things is a lot of them have no identification. We have to work from the very bottom, try to get their birth certificate, Social Security, and then try to get their identifications. Like if they need, even driver's license. We've had a couple of ladies that come in, they've never had their driver's license. Some that's never even driven before. So those things, and then, to help prepare them for like their future, for things that they need to learn how to do. I mean, we have cooking classes, we have classes for trauma, because most of them have been through serious trauma. And some of them come out of prison, some are homeless. So we deal with a lot of different areas that these women have in their life, and we just try to help them build their life back up. And so when they finish the program, that they can go out and they have the tools to do things they never had before. Because a lot of them come from even their families are addicted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Andrew, we're not a medical facility, so they do have to, if they have an addiction, they do have to detox prior to coming in. And so what we like to do typically within the first month is it's a bit of a cushion for the first couple, 2-3 weeks, for them to still continue to detox if they have been on a substance.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can actually carry that on for a number of months before the mind cloud just kind of clear up.
And I love that there's also biblical teachings as well into this program. Talk about that and really the foundation of even in the name with Leah's House.
We just try to give them the very basics, because a lot of the women they don't even know Bible stories like we taught. We're older, so we had Sunday school growing up. A lot of them didn't have Sunday school, so they don't know these Bible stories. So we have to start the very foundation, really, of everything. I mean, financial, Bible classes, everything is like, it's almost like taking a child and teaching them new things, even though they're adults, because they haven't had that,
And one of the cornerstone classes that we do have is from Mercy Multiplied Ministry out of Nashville. It's a class that's called Keys to Freedom. And so that, again, that's a biblically based program as well, or a class as well. And what they do, essentially what I'll simplify it super easy for the sake of time, is your roots affect your fruits. And so we can try and modify behavior, which is that fruit. But if we don't get to the root and change the root system, then we've got issues that are just going to keep recurring. And that's really what leads so many people to Leah's house. And so with that, they learn to go and look at past patterns. They look at things there and then walk through forgiveness and walk through scriptures on that as well. And learning to use scripture to renew their mind and move forward in that forgiveness and in that new life as well. And then as far as the name, as you pointed out, Andrew, that is from Leah in the Bible, as a matter of fact. So I'll let Paula share that with you.
Yeah, it was named Leah's house because Leah was the unloved one, but even though she was unloved by Jacob and he loved Rachel, God used her, and her children, Leah's children, even became, Jesus came out of that lineage. And so it's kind of like that God looked and saw her, and found favor. He loved her, even though she was unloved. And so that's where the name come from, Leah's house.
You're also trying to break some generational curses within this family structure that they may have been subjected to. And so having these foundational programs and classes and trainings and just loving on them is so important, and reminding them that because they are here, they are worthy. So share a success story of a resident who has gone through your program.
In fact, we just went and visited one of the girls. She graduated a year and a half ago, and she's working. She's still in drug court because of her past charges, and but she's doing awesome. She's got her a really good job. She's doing her drug court. She's getting her GED. She's excited about that. And she's just doing really, really well. And we're just so excited for her. And we also went and saw her sister. Her sister was in there while she was in there, and she's doing good too. She did not complete the program, but she's doing really, really well. So that's two. And then I guess the main one is Beth, our house manager. She come in 2.5 years ago. And she became our house manager. And so she is there with the girls all the time, just really helping them and guiding them. And she's been clean for 5 years, and she's been out of prison for 2.5. So she's helping other women that's been in the same situation she was in before.
We know Beth. My family knows Beth. My children love Beth. She is such a beacon of hope and transformation. And to know her story is to know that you can persevere. And that's all what you were trying to do as well at Leah's house. All of the situations they may have been in before, it doesn't define who they are moving forward. And so being a place of hope and stability is so important. Speaking of stability, what kind of support system does Leah's house provide for women dealing with those addiction and behavioral problems?
One of the things that kind of makes Leah's house unique is Paula's really made the effort to, and she's doing the day-to-day, that's why I point to her for that. But Paula's really made the effort to make it into more of a home environment, so it's not an institution. And there's nothing wrong with institutions. The beautiful thing, as we've gotten into this, we realize, there's not a one shoe that fits all people, right? And so we've worked at, and she has especially worked at, making it a home-like environment, and that's really been a help for that love atmosphere that you're talking about, for the sisterhood of the residents that are there. One of the key elements seems to be the necessity of having just that support that you mentioned. Well, just being together and having some past shared experiences of similar experiences, just that support alone is miraculous in helping them to kind of recognize they're not alone in what they've been through. They're not strange or odd for having battled some of the addictions they have and suffered some of the abuses they have. And so that's a lot of mileage there. And then two, we do take the women to church with us, and they attend our church as well. And we do that so they have one church to go to and tend to be stable in that church environment as well. Because as they graduate at the end of the year, it's critical that they have their own support structure, they have their own friends, and they have those relationships. And so we have to almost ease them into an environment that there can be that positive influence, but we definitely want them to make friends and grow on their own so they don't leave and be dependent on those folks that they just left, or they have to return to family and they don't have that support that they have there.
Yeah, a support system is definitely key when it comes to even those that may have not faced much adversity. A support system is still so important. And so I can imagine those that have faced much adversity through their life and many different factors, that is the key to continue to thrive in this newer environment for them. Let's talk about some community and volunteer support for the operations of Leah's House. You are a nonprofit. You have many needs to survive and thrive. Talk about those and how the community can help you.
We mostly are run by just individual donations. We don't have a grant writer. We don't get grants. And we do have, like, the volunteers come in, they volunteer for free. We're all volunteers. I'm even a volunteer. Leonard volunteers. We all volunteer. So we have like a volunteer base that's just awesome and love the girls, and they're there for them, and we do have a few people, sometimes they'll like, do you need any cleaning supplies? Do you need stuff like that? And they'll come in and they'll purchase like cleaning supplies and stuff like that we need.
Currently, the volunteers that we have that are frequent, we have a art class that the girls have every week, kind of art therapy, and they bring in some biblical principles with that. We have some other classes. We have a volunteer counselor that comes in and talks to each of the girls individually each week, as well as what they do corporately together as far as some group therapy type counseling classes. So as far as for volunteers, though, we do have an application process to sort of vet those volunteers. And then we also kind of educate them as well, because a lot of folks aren't familiar in working in that type of an environment. It's not a high risk. I don't say it in that regard, but just things that we perceive as common sense, sometimes people don't recognize. Don't give the girls money, don't give away your phone number the first time you meet them, things like that. We try and do everything in a group type environment. We had a lady that volunteered not too many weeks ago, and she was going to do, I believe it was a financial class. And at that point, we didn't have need of a financial class. Well, she volunteered to teach them how to cook instead then.
Yeah.
So she's doing a weekly cooking with the girls to teach them, how to read the recipes and make things like that. So we it's an individual basis on what the skills are that individual brings, and then we see where we can fit them in as far as the physical volunteering at the house. And then certainly, we can always use volunteers to raise funding and do other things like that as well.
What are the requirements for admission to Leah's House? How many residents do you usually see on a regular basis, or can you hold? And how does that process work? And how do you ensure it's a good fit for new residents?
Our residence that we're at right now, it only holds like 6 women. It's not a real big house, so that's our limit that we can have is 6 women. Now later on, if we had something bigger or what, we could take more women in. But it's a really good to have this small group because it's more individualized. It's more of a family. You don't want a whole bunch of people in one family trying to get along. But this has been really good because it helps them to become like a family and sisters, and they work real good together, and so the biggest thing that I see is we teach them to respect and honor each other and love each other, even in their differences. And we try to show them love. And because a lot of times when they've been through a lot of the things that they've been through, they have not received a lot of love. they've received a lot of abuse, a lot of just being put down. And we want them to know that they're valuable, they're they're worthy of love. And so that's the biggest thing, is we want them to feel the love and know that they're accepted, even though they might think different, do things different, whatever. We all love each other, and we try to work together and honor each other and respect each other.
That's
And
well
we
said.
do, as a part of that, have an application process when they come in. Yeah. And so it's pretty extensive. It goes through their background and what drugs they've been using, what their past is, things like that. And that helps. They talk to Paula, and she screens through that with them. And then after doing this for the time that we've done it, I know it's not the longest time in the world, but you really learn to kind of filter through to recognize who we think would be a good fit, and we talk to them and encourage them in that regard. Because again, one shoe doesn't fit everyone, and so we've found kind of the sweet spot for what seems to work well with us. And God certainly surprised us with others that are good fit that we maybe didn't anticipate. But what we do when we bring someone in, the first few weeks is sort of their trial period, so to speak, as well. And so we're upfront with them about that. They do have the strictest rules when they come in the door. There's no cell phone, no car, no visitation, things like that. So we're a smoke-free facility, which is unusual for a lot of the rehabs as well. And so they're making a commitment on their side, and we want to help them with that commitment as well. But if they find it's not comfortable, a comfortable fit for them, then we're not keeping anybody locked in the house. They're free to go. We just want to respect that for what they want, and we'll even help. We've got other friends in the business, so we'll help find them a place if we can as well.
Yes.
And when it comes to them arriving at Leah's house, is it 100% on their sort of willingness to come, or is it sort of like court appointed? I'm curious, as far as like, or a family saying you need to go here. Well, how does that sort of work out usually?
Yeah, most of the time, the people that come in, if they're coming in from like prison or something like that, now they have to, before they're released from prison, they have to have a place to go, and they have to be taken to check in at the parole board, and so we have to take them once a month, and then they call in once a month. So that's something we have to make sure they do. If they don't do that, then they'll go back to jail. So we make sure they get to the place they need to get to check in. Now, a lot of the women, they just have no place to go. So they'll call us and do an application to see if they can come in.
A lot of it's word of mouth.
Yeah, most of it's word of mouth. And I don't think we've had anybody really court ordered there. They've just gotten out and they have no place to go. So they contact us, they've heard about us, and they'll do an application. We'll say, okay, you're accepted. And so when they're released, they can come there, and then we take to check them in at the parole board, to let them know that they're there, and we will be bringing them back and forth.
When it comes to residency requirements, do you only see people that have been around the DeSoto County, Mississippi area? Does Shelby County, Tennessee included? What is that like?
Yeah, we will take women from anywhere that find us, essentially. We have had some that have been from within DeSoto County, but most of them are from other counties. So far, the majority of residents tend to be from Mississippi, because we've got contacts in the different jails and the prison systems that may refer us. We had referral from Arkansas, from some other folks that we network. I participate actively in what's called the Spiritual Care Network. And so we've had referrals from that as well. And that's a network of professionals that are mental health professionals, as well as folks that are pastors and lay leaders in the churches that are interested in helping that community. And so we've gotten some referrals through that as well.
Paula, we'll start with you. What puts a smile on your face when you look at the work that you're doing every day at Leah's house?
Just seeing the ladies, when they feel that love and they feel that acceptance, and that, somebody loves them enough that they care. And just seeing them grow and succeed. I mean, it's so neat to see them come in and then just bloom like a beautiful flower. It's really, it's just a beautiful thing. So,
What
and I
about
mean, we do have some that just, but just to see that, it's worth it all. So.
What about you, Leonard?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things that I found myself in with this, of course, I'm surrounded by women all the time since it's a women's home. We don't typically have male volunteers, and certainly want to be cautious of that. But one of the things that I've realized is most of the women there have really poor experiences with men, either abusive fathers or abusive boyfriends, or it's one of the dangers when they leave. It's the finances, the phone, or the guy is typically one of the problems as they're leaving. And so it's put me in a position to be sort of that father figure, a positive role model, a male role model for the women. And I'm starting to really kind of own that and enjoy that. It was kind of concerning initially when I realized it, but the women are just so they're so beautiful, and they need that positive affirmation. And so I don't know if they realize it, but I'm always trying to be as guarded as possible to not be of offense to them or to trigger or do anything to them. But it's really, God's really allowed me to kind of input into their lives in ways that they've never had, especially from a male.
As we go to church together and we see the women around you and Paula, assuming that many of them are in Leah's house, looking them in the eyes, smiling, showcasing that there are some positive male role models out there and that they matter, I think really does help them realize that their past does not define their present or future. And so it's really remarkable of the work that you all are doing. For those that want to get involved and want to make an impact, want to volunteer, they want to refer someone to Leah's house, where do they go?
The simplest thing is they could go ahead and call us at Leah's house. The ministry number that we use is area code 662-703-9806. And most oftentimes Beth answers the phone for us. And so she is really great, and Paula will as well. If somebody calls, we're not a homeless shelter, so we don't want to focus on that, although there's a need for it. But if they call with other needs, we can point them in the right direction as well. And Beth is super good to pray with the people that call in, whether they can come into our house or not, and spend time and give them a little bit of affirmation on the phone as well. But anybody, whether it's a volunteer interested in coming, again, that number is 662-703-9806.
Also, leahshouse.com, a great resource to be able to learn more about the remarkable work that Leah's House is doing. Thank you, Leonard and Paula, for coming on the City Current Show, sharing more about the impactful work being done by you, Beth, the volunteers, and the residents that are transforming their lives through faith, support, and education. Thank you so much for powering the good in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Andrew.